Hello folks, Jonathan Milam here with a beautiful instrument. It is a Schilke B6 and I'll discuss it more in just a moment, but what I'm going to do right now is just play an old hymn, Savior like a shepherd lead us, and then we'll switch mouthpieces and go up a little higher. But what I'm using for this, Trent Austin's TATF. This is Trent's Trumpet Flugel. And it's got about a 24 drill and extremely deep V-cup mouthpiece. I don't find this horn to be as sensitive as some, but it produces a marvelous tone regardless of what. I really like it better with a shallow piece, which we'll try in a few minutes. But what a beautiful, full, large tone it gets with this mouthpiece as well. Savior like a shepherd lead us. Pretty horn, isn't it? Of course, this was made by Reynolds Schilke, previously of the New York Symphony Orchestra fame. And what we've got here is what they call a medium step bore horn. I just did a video a few minutes ago with this horn, a Binge 4, and a Cannonball Lynx. I didn't hardly say anything right. Like the guy said, I just washed my tongue and I can't do a thing with it. But at any rate, reverse lead pipe on this, and very smooth entryway, and a step bore, so it's going to start relatively small. In fact, I think the Yamaha 8310 was patterned somewhat after this, but winds up with a 5-inch bell, and I think it's the number 2 bell, so it's just a very nice flare on this. Of course, a nice large 5-inch. With the reverse lead pipe, you get a very smooth entryway, and what I would call somewhat of a weighted mouthpiece receiver. Just a great feel. The Schilke valves, and I bought this horn from a lady by the name of Lisa. Lisa, thank you. And Matthew, her son, whom I actually met when I purchased the horn. Wonderful horn. Apparently a one-owner horn. She got it when she was in 6th grade. She had stuck with the horn for 2 years, and so her parents bought her a Schilke. That's some nice parents. Very nice parents. And she kept it from the mid-70s until I got it just a few weeks ago. I thought I saw some markings here, and I really honestly thought that it had had a little resoldering, but she tells me really no major mechanicals at all. And just as you look down on it, a few dings. She played it heartily through high school, pep band, stage band, and from 6th grade to 12th grade. After that, I believe she mentioned to me that she didn't play it so much. A few years with a church orchestra or a church group at Christmas time, bandmate maybe she said, and just a funeral or two, but largely untouched, I suppose, for the last few years. The valve action on it was fantastic, but I was having the second valve that every now and then would stick. In fact, I made a video before this, and it stuck just a little bit. Really bugged me. I couldn't find anything wrong with it. The valves they look brand new. The extremely good-looking pistons and casing as well. So I just put some stiffer valve springs on it. I think that's what it was. And a lot of times, if you buy a horn that's resale, if the positioning of your fingers strokes downward at a different angle, sometimes the valves will hang just because they're not accustomed to the different angle where you apply the pressure. But I don't like the springs that I have in here nearly as well. Before it was such a relaxed touch. Now I actually have to work with my fingers to get it down. But anyway, great horn, just a real pleasure to play. Few dings from high school. What can you expect? Do you remember, used to, they'd have band right before high school and the bell would ring, you're going to be late for lunch and you just hear the clang, clang as, the horns are hitting the stands. But remarkably good condition for a horn that came out of the 70s in comparison to this 70s bench, which has not fared quite so nicely with the passage into many strange hands. Okay, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to play with a Reeves Provenance 9A, a much shallower mouthpiece, probably a 26 drill, maybe a 25, and we'll try Give Me That Old Time Religion. Every time I go to churches that are playing the new praise and worship songs, I just think, give me that old time religion. Okay, we'll try that, raise it up just a little bit, give you access to the upper register with this horn, at least to some degree. Well, that's one very nice playing, very well made, well kept. Thank you, Lisa. Schilke B6, probably with a copper bell. You can special order them with brass, but I imagine this is copper. I don't think it's beryllium. I think that would be marked here. Very nice playing horn. Hopefully it sounds good. Give me a thumbs up if you're able to. Google likes me better when I get more thumbs up. Subscribe if you like. Always a pleasure sharing trumpet information. If you have a comment you'd like to make, one thing I did want to mention. It is a medium bore horn, and I'm on Trumpet Herald a lot. Used to be another trumpet forum that I was on as much as I could too, but always kind of gravitated towards Trumpet Herald. Some people there feel that the medium bore, at least this horn, is stuffy. When I started with the usual mouthpiece that I use, which is a Reeves 42C, a little shallower than your average Bach 3C, low C to C in the staff, played fine. Above high C, I felt like I was facing somewhat of an impediment, tight, stuffy, if you please. And that's when I brought out my mouthpieces that use the Reeves sleeves. And of course, you can get these sleeves anywhere from a 1 to a 7, and they make them in quarter sizes as well. I've got a 5.5, 5.25, 5.75, but put a 5 in, a 6, it felt better, went up to a 7. I like a 7 sleeve in this, at least for the upper register, from C in the staff on up, which is, my range is maybe an F above high C on a really good day. Occasionally, I can squeak out a double high C, not much to write home about. But the 7 sleeve really opened this horn up. I think a lot of times you get your gap just right where the lead pipe receives and your mouthpiece receiver ends. If you can get that gap dialed in properly, then the horn isn't nearly as stuffy as you thought. I've had some Bach Strads that I thought were very stuffy. I wish I'd had the Reeves sleeve system at that time so I could check them out again and see if perhaps it was user error and just a little large or a little tight gap, not getting it dialed in. But anyway, the 7 sleeve works well on the upper register for me with this Schilke B6. Again, the thumbs up, subscribe if you like, love the comments if you've got experience with Schilke horns. Take care, do have a great day, and in these trying times, stay safe.